Have you ever noticed that if you watch like an MMA fight, it's nothing like an anime fight? Nothing really slows down, nobody's like, there's never been an MMA fight where like someone's like ground pounded and like almost like put out of commission and then they just stand up and it's like, huh, I was only using 40% of my power. Why is that the go-to move? Who's like, and divided by 2 and carry the 3 and lower the shin by 3%, and yes, that's about 40% of my evil muscle power. It's weird, you guys are responding to this joke way better than when I was testing it with my Lyft driver all the way over here. But anyway, I'm sorry, I was on a roller coaster. I waited for hours to get onto this thing. I was so hyped, I was so excited, and they finally, it's my turn. I sit down, and I go to lower the harness, but it won't click. It won't click. I'm like sucking my gut in, and it's just not, it's not working. That's when the floor lowered a few feet, and a bunch of lights started going on. And it dawned on me, oh no. If I don't say something, this ride is going to launch me at 70 miles per hour, at which point I will plummet like a chubby meteor, and I will end on the harsh New Jersey concrete. But if I wanted to save my life, I would have to leap out of my chair and go, stop the ride, I'm too fat. And just as I'm having, that's a tough decision, I'm gonna say. I'm not a proud man, but that is a tough decision. And so the more I thought about it, the more I'm like sweating, the more I'm like trying to get the math in my head. And finally, they do a last safety check, and this one poor, underpaid employee just takes one look at me and knows exactly what I'm going through. He's like, all right, listen, bro, you're gonna have to suck it in. And I'm like, I'm sucking, I swear! Again, this was a dignified experience. And he goes, okay, cool. And he grabs the harness and just wham! Like Falcon Punch! Like cacao! Shuriken! Like just destroys me. And the ride goes, and I go on the roller coaster. I have no memory of the ride because I immediately blacked out. Because a grown man punched me as hard as he possibly could in the solar plexus. And that's a bad story, but can you imagine how awful it was for the people next to me with my unconscious body just like... Just lay off the carbs. Like, you just save it for the weekends. That's all I'm saying. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, let me tell you something about stroke damage. What happens in a stroke, I did not know what a stroke was. I've heard of a heart attack, and I knew strokes were bad. Stroke bad, no, don't have a stroke, it's bad. What happens is the blood flow to the brain gets cut off, and the brain starts to die. So there was a clot in one of my arteries to the brain, and that part of the brain is now dead. And I'm thinking, I got a chunk of dead brain in my head? I wonder if it's looking at the live brain like, me! I don't know. And the weird thing is, because the brain doesn't have any nerve endings for pain, you don't feel it. Some of the signs for stroke are if your face is sagging, if you can't raise your arm, if your speech is slurred, things like that. And I didn't know what to look for. And I didn't realize that I was getting brain damage until I heard myself say, you know, that new Fantastic Four movie was pretty good. Oh, fuck, I've got brain damage! It's bad! It's really bad!
So I was so excited. So this man like lays down on my bed and he goes, come here, which is so exciting, but I was so nervous that I couldn't move. So I just like stood against the dresser and gave like a weird acceptance speech. So he was like, come here, and I was like, I just want to say this weekend is so fun, and I'm having a great time, and you're here, and you're so handsome. I mean, just to be nominated is such an honor. I'd like to thank God and all my friends in Ponyville for getting me here today. It was, so he had a, this was so dumb, you guys. He had a permanent necklace. The links were, yeah, what is right? That's what I said, like very loudly, like right into his face. Right? So he had the links, remember those big honkin' silver chains you bought at like Hot Topic in middle school, and they like gave you hives, and you're like, I don't care, I have to wear them to get invited to things. It was like one of those, like a big clunky weird chain, and I was like, where's the clasp on this? And he's like, oh, there's no clasp, and I would have been like, that's real dumb, but I was like, no, this is happening. Like I'm not ruining this, right? So I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Like, I mean, if you think about like how much time we spent like putting on and then like taking off necklaces, like you have regained years, if not decades of your life. Like, definitely, right? And then he took off his shirt and he had a power button tattoo on his chest, like on your computer, but like on a person. We're on the same page, do we get it? Anyone have any follow-up questions? Great. So he had this tattoo, right? So I was like, what is that? And he was so excited I asked because he had like a canned answer, like ready. Yeah, like when he got the tattoo, he was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna say too. I know what I'm gonna say, right? So I was like, what's that? And he goes, oh, this? I was like, here we go. Right? He goes, so this turns me on. Like a dramatic pause. I was like, okay. Right? He goes, there's only one way to get me off. And I was like, still doing this! And so I did, right? And it, it went about as well as someone who would say something like that could do, right?
But it gets weird on the street too, right? This guy came up to me and he's like, you got a problem? So I gave him the Rubik's Cube. I'm like, I hope you like puzzles, because this one is a bitch. He's like, man, where you at? Where you at? Do you know the code? Do you know the code? What? I'm like, do you want Python or Java? Because I'm pretty thorough. Oh, man. I think I'm going to get out of here, but I'll leave you with this. I don't live in a bad neighborhood, because my credit has served me well. But I think if I did, I would sleep with the ski mask. That way, if a burglar ever broke in, I'd be like, looks like you should have got here earlier! Try the next house. Thanks.
I do actually have something historical here. It's pretty interesting. I have a rough draft of Donald Trump's inauguration speech. And it's a little weird. It just says, Hail Hydra. So I'm not sure what to make of that. I have a friend, she's a couple years older than me, and she's doing better in her life than I am. You know, she's got a husband, good house, good job, kids, reasons for living. And she posted on Facebook, oh my God, I found my 11-year-old son is looking at porn online. What do I do, you guys? What do I do? She's asking for help. And I was thinking about this. I know exactly what I would do if I found my 11-year-old son or daughter looking at porn online. I would respect their decision. I would give them a safe space to do this in. I would set up a computer. I would put down a 3-page list of tested and functioning adult URLs. And I would make sure that that computer was attached to the slowest functioning dial-up modem I could find.
Quick Dungeons and Dragons story. You talk me into it. So, I was working at an auto parts warehouse one time, right? And I was the only nerd there. The rest of them were like these 10 big goon dudes. I don't know why 10 goons were working at an auto parts warehouse. I don't know if they were trying to steal a car in installments, but they were working there. So one day, I brought my D&D books. Actually, it's Pathfinder, but Pathfinder. So I brought my books, right? And because that's how you make friends with goons. And so one of them comes over and he's like, "Yo, man, what is that?" And at first, I thought he was talking about reading, but I was like, "No." And he's like, "No, man, what's in the book?" And so I'm explaining tabletop role-playing games to him. I'm like, "Okay, first you make a character, okay? Then you take these dice," and he's like, "Dice!" And I had him after that, right? And I was like, "Then you decide your statistics, and then you go on adventures. And when you defeat monsters, you gain experience points. And once you gain enough experience points, your character goes up a level, which means they become more powerful." And he was like, "Oh, okay, all right, I'll follow you. I'm not making the next part up, by the way. I get back from lunch. They have my monster manual open, talking about which monsters they would bust a cap in to gain the easy experience points. And at one point, the one guy's like, "Yo, what is that, a ogre? Yeah, son, I'll pop the shit out of that." To which his homeboy said, "Nigga, read the page, it's immune to non-magical weapons, bitch." So that guy's our cleric now.